out to Debbie, owner of Mystery Inc. Bookstore in Huntington Beach. But yeah, no, this is. I'm gonna take your phone off. It's right here.
Oh.
Yeah, no, The Extraordinary Ordinary. It's my latest new adult novel. It's about 3 college students and how they cope with their mental health when old wounds resurface. And we have 3 leads. We have a photographer, a musician, and a writer, and they all, through their journey with their friendship and also getting to know each other, they also express their passion for the art. So we have a photographer who loves Polaroids, and we have a writer. She's a poet. She's obsessed with all types of poetry. She's someone that I guess you can define as a hipster. She's very not into the newer material that we see today. And we have a male lead named Alex. Alex is an aspiring musician, and he works at the bookstore where our protagonist Erica meets and eventually falls in love with them. So it's through these relationships that they build. They not only learn how to cope with their own, their past, and also learn how to communicate, with people in their life. We have a B-plot storyline where Erica, the lead, she learns how to communicate and also stand up for herself, to her parents, and how she wants to be in her own skin, and also, develop, her own, journey to adulthood. And that's something that we see in both the book and the movie. And a little bit about The Extraordinary Ordinary. It started out as a screenplay that I wrote when I was around 17 years old. I was a junior in high school. Very few people in my life knew that I was writing at the time. When I was 17, I got more invested into movies and books, and I should elaborate. At that time, a junior in high school, I'm sure it's the same today, I was asked by my GLC or guidance counselor, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Where do you want to go to school? And I told her, well, this is what I'm interested in. I mentioned I love movies, I love TV, I love writing, and my guidance counselor, Mrs. Salas, in high school, suggested, okay, let's look into film school. I eventually went to Cal State Fullerton, and that's where I ended up writing and diving back into the earlier drafts of The Extraordinary Ordinary, which originally started off as a film screenplay. And it was through that journey in college, I myself, I should say, I was, someone that struggled with my own mental health. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of burnout, and I think that was the first time ever in my life I learned, ironically, while I was writing a later draft of The Extraordinary Ordinary in college, I was also learning how to deal with my own mental health and how to, take breaks or, take less units or classes, per semester. I was someone that was definitely could relate to the characters in the book and the film. Erica, Bianca, and Alex, the characters' names. I was, I got to do more. That was kind of my mindset. Like Erica in the movie and the book, she wants to do, 1,000 things, but realistically we're human, right? We can't do everything at once. So that was kind of the irony, and I think it was through my own journey. I was definitely finding a lot of healing and a lot of very therapeutic to work on the screenplay at the time in college. I think it was ironically, I was like, that was kind of me subconsciously working on how to take care of myself. And once I finished the screenplay, it was one of the earlier drafts and a screenwriting class at Cal State Fullerton I was taking. That was the first time I ever had students. What they do is called table read. So you read pages of your script or whatever you're working on in class, and you listen to your words. And that was the first time I ever experienced that was in college, where I had my peers or classmates reading pages of The Extraordinary Ordinary movie script. It was terrifying, but it was also, I think, a good thing to get that started in school, because that's where you're going to learn. That's where you're going to see, as cliche as it is, that's where you're going to learn how to not only strengthen your writing, but you also get feedback. So I was also getting genuine feedback from my peers, see what they liked, see what they had questions on, and that eventually, when I finished that class, I took all those notes and kept them, in a folder. We actually at the time would print out notes for our peers, like saying, here's pros and cons that we liked about your script. And that was kind of it. Once I graduated to the next class, I always was coming back to The Extraordinary Ordinary script, even though in film school we were working on other projects or, we take GE classes. I was always coming back to the script just because I went to bed and woke up thinking about the 3 characters. I always kind of call it an obsession. I just couldn't stop thinking about them. I mean, everywhere went, everywhere, whatever movie or TV show I was watching, if I heard those names, Erica, Bianca, and Alex, I was always like, oh, that's a sign. I have to like go back to that script. I keep hearing those names, and there's a reason why. So it was that like what if, and in that obsession, with getting their story told is what motivated me to go back to that script and just edit and edit. And I ended up, when I finished graduating from Cal State Fullerton, I ended up, taking another class. It was at a school called Playhouse West. I took a film production and a screenwriting class, and I actually ended up bringing The Extraordinary Ordinary to that post-college school. So I did work on a few pages, got more feedback, and I eventually approached my teacher at the time. His name is David Garrett. I asked David Garrett, I said, I want to make this my first feature, but I hear that there's a cliche saying in the entertainment industry, which is, I think it's bogus, but I was told years and years ago, like, never make a drama or a film about mental health or about one's recovery or one's, like, overall, like, wellness and their well-being. And the time, years ago, I would always be like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, at the time, I'm a big independent Sundance IFC, film, goer. I mean, those are the films that inspired me to pursue this book and the film. It was, films like 13 or, we see Robert Redford, he's always promoting Sundance, on a yearly basis. Another great indie film, Mysterious Skins, also based on a book. So I thought that was a weird cliche, like, comment I would receive, but I kind of was glad I didn't always let that hold me back. I was always like, well, that might be their opinion, but I know there's, like, a crowd that will enjoy a book or a film that deals with mental health or wellness. And I think it was just always that, I think that what if, that always just kept me going and revisiting the script. And eventually, I'll say, I want to say maybe like in 2017, I was in the process of making some short films. I would film at my mom's house all the time with these shorts. I would grab, colleagues, friends, we'd get together, film comedies, dramas. And while I was filming these shorts, I was always like mentally like preparing, okay, I want to make my shorts now so I can go make the feature film. I want to like, do as much as I can, learn and see what's working, what's not working on set. And that eventually led me to meeting who was going to end up playing Erica, the lead role in the film. Her name's Madison, and we ended up meeting through, it's that cliche saying, it's through networking, through social media. We met through, I think it was Facebook. And I was starting to audition for the short film for The Extraordinary Ordinary. So I wanted to start off making a short film, see how that transferred. And I ended up, I think, DMing Madison on Facebook. I said, hey, I have this script. I think it'd be great for the lead role of Erica. And that kind of went from there. She wasn't part of the first short we did. But, I later reached out to her a few months later, and we ended up doing the feature together. I mentioned, hey, I saw you have experience as a producer with feature films. I would love to invite you to, like, read for this part. So that kind of how it went. It was one of the earlier drafts. I got some actors I worked with in the past and some friends and colleagues who I've never worked with. Invited them. We got together in a theater. I think it was called Grace Studios in North Hollywood. And I did my first official, like, table read with the actors for the film. And that kind of went from there. It was, I think getting a positive response. And I think that question I'd one of the readers asked, oh, so when are you going to make this? So I think it was definitely those type of questions or feedback encouraged me to, oh, I can probably actually go and make this. If they seem excited, I feel, that's motivating me, that, okay, they're connecting with the story, the characters. And we ended up going into production in 2018. So 2018, I ended up doing what a lot of directors, writers, producers do. I always say I recommend it, but I also say there's nothing wrong if you don't want to pursue this avenue. But ended up self-funding about 80% of the feature film. Feature film, I had cast and crew was amazing, just as passionate and so hardworking. And you hear all the stories with smaller budget indies, people who are feel like, don't pay me, or I'll take this copy credit, I just want to help out. I don't think if I didn't have the crew and cast on this project, I don't know how we would have got it finished, as cliche as that is. But what drove me to self-finance most of the film was getting rejections. I for years, and I was pitching, to colleagues or for bosses who I interned for, and they were producers, and a lot of them were saying, "Oh, we like it, but no," or "Hey, it's those cliche sayings, we need a bigger writer, we need a big enough name, it's not going to sell," or "Hey, you should go and self-finance this." So actually had like two close producer colleagues of mine still communicate with until this day, and one I'm actually working with next on a project. They both told me and sat me down one day. They said, "Look, if you want to make this your first feature, The Extraordinary Ordinary, we recommend that you self-finance it. Figure it out, whether you crowdfund or whether you fund it as you go. You're gonna have to do that." And I remember asking, like, "Well, why do you recommend that? I mean, that seems like, absurd. Some people can't do that for different reasons." And I had one of my colleagues mentioned, "I can tell you're passionate about this script. I would feel terrible if I took this to someone else and they would try to kick you off. They're like, I would feel like, that's just going to crush your dreams." And actually thanked him, a few years later. Back then I thought that doesn't seem reasonable, but I was actually very fortunate that he was that blunt and that upfront with me. I think that those are the type of people you want in your life, creative-wise, or whatever you're doing. I think it's people who have more experience than you and who are just upfront and just lay it out to you. So I was very fortunate that Matt, his name is Matt, ended up sitting me down and saying that to me directly. But going back to 2018, we filmed The Extraordinary Ordinary, the feature, over the course of 13 days in May 2018. Definitely, we had a fun, days, and there were definitely harder days than other. And a lot of the difficult days were because of there's a lot of emotional scenes. Our lead character, she's Erica. She struggles with panic attacks and anxiety attacks. So we do see the actress who portrays Erica, experience the physicalities and the symptoms of anxiety. So that's why it would make the shoot hard. I think it was a lot of making sure that not only was the actress Madison, okay, but it was also making sure like everyone else was, because when you're filming, you're doing long hours, especially indie budgets. You're often filming more pages in a day. Usually studio budgets might do like 5 to 6 pages in a day, just depending, but indie films, you'll hear they do like up to 9 to 15 pages a day, which is a lot. But I think, that's what, you got to do when you're on a lower budget. You're limited on time. You don't want to keep, cast and crew. You don't want to take away opportunities they might have, like if they are working on studio productions. So that definitely was, kind of how we filmed it, was communication. I was up front with the cast. Hey, please go, see someone, talk to someone during the shoot or before the shoot or after, kind of, that was the hardest thing I had to do. It was, hey, I'm kind of, I'm your colleague and boss on set, but, I can't be your therapist. I'm not a professional. So that was the first time I ever learned how wellness and health works on production. And I think it's improved since. So I'm actually very happy to see, like, with this kind of content that, that deals with trauma, recovery, or mental health, we are starting to see more therapists or wellness coaches be present on set for cast and crew to speak with if they're having a difficult time, whether it's personal related or it's because it's just the material so it's heavier. But that was, a little history of the film. And I'll be honest, after I finished production, I ended up feeling very like in this weird depressed mood. It was, I think because a lot of it was coming from, it took months and months and even years to write the script, and then it's all this preparation, and when you film, you get in and out. So you're like, oh, that's so weird. Like, that almost felt like a weird, like, proud moment, but I was also like, oh my gosh, what this film never gets daylight. So that's ended up getting me like, in this like depression, episode. And I ended up, diving into a lot of writing, right after we wrapped production on The Extraordinary Ordinary. And I ended up revisiting the script, and I remember looking at some scenes we didn't have time to shoot, or scenes and dialogue that I ended up condensing, or we ended up cutting out from the film on production dates. So I ended up visiting that script, and in my mind I was like, I think I should write a book. Something was kind of drawing me to that, and it was the idea of writing a book from both Erica, Bianca, and Alex, the 3 leads' perspective. So the book is split into 3 different point of views. And you'll see that in the book. It will say Erica, list for indicating that's Erica's chapter, and Bianca for Bianca's chapter, and Alex for Alex's chapter. And I think I needed to do that because that not only like kind of shut off those worries and fears I had about the film, not ever seeing daylight, or that fear of, oh my gosh, what if I messed up. It was more like just my own insecurities popping up after filming. But I think the book definitely was the difference with the book and the film. The book definitely felt more like a diary, even though it's written through the point of views of other characters. It definitely was, I think my way of connecting with the characters and also seeing like, oh, there's more for the characters to express. There's more to the story. And cliche it is, I just again went to bed and woke up thinking about the characters from the book. And when I finished the first draft of manuscript, I think it was that summer after we wrapped production on the feature, and I put it away. I kind of wrote the book just for myself, and I never thought it would get published, or I didn't think about ever like showing it to anyone in the book. But I think over time I eventually did, just because again the book kept kind of popping up every few months in my head, and I thought, okay, well maybe I should showcase it and see what close colleagues and peers say. And I ended up doing that. I ended up sharing the draft about 2 years ago with editor friends of mine, and I said, hey, read this, give me honest feedback. If you hate it, like, totally get it, I just need to know if it's like what stuff's making sense. And I think they got back to me like in a month, and they said they loved it, and they're like, I'd love to edit this and help you. What ended up becoming I'd love to help you self-publish this. So that was the words of an editor I've worked with in the past in previous projects. Her name's Katie. Katie, I think just her being honest with her feedback, and her not just saying, well, I liked it. She actually gave feedback on why she liked it or things to work on. And I, for me, that actually encourages me. So I think it was with, her notes, I definitely was like, okay, I see how her notes could help like strengthen the story. And I feel that's what makes a great, editor. Both film and both book-wise, you want someone to come in and kind of, give you a mental break, and they'll tell you like, if they're understanding what the story is, or they'll actually, like Katie has done multiple times in my work, including this book, she will tell me, oh, this is what I took away from the book. So I think that's the best feedback, is getting that. Someone can take away something you didn't think of. That's always like a good thing. That's all about the history of the extraordinary ordinary. Definitely I want to open the floor to any questions anyone might have, or any comments. Definitely it's a passion project, and I'm very grateful for the book's gone so far. So I will say the next event we'll be having will be in Valencia County on Saturday, December 17th. It's at the Open Book Canyon Country. So definitely Los Angeles County folks, if you're out that way, probably a little closer. A little history of the book and film. Any questions or comments?
I believe it's on Amazon.
Yes.
I mean, the film.
Yes. So both the film, you can actually watch the film now. It's streaming on Amazon, Google Play, or you can watch it for free. It's on Roku, Tubi, and the Indie Rights Movies YouTube channel. Indie Rights is our distributor. They colleagues, mutual friends of ours, so that's how I was able to get this on their platform. But definitely, check it out. I should mention, trigger warning. Both the book and the film deal with the aftermath of trauma for multiple characters. So we have both first and then secondary survivor and recovery for these characters. But I just want to throw that out there. And the film is PG-13 because of some content and some language. But definitely, recommend checking it out on those free apps, the Roku, Tubi, and Indie Rights Movies YouTube channel.
Is this a short film?
Feature film.
Feature film?
Yeah.
This is a feature.
Yeah. And the feature film's about an hour and a half, so it's on the short side. But feature film. And you can actually check out, we did 2 short films right before the feature. The short films, if you Googled Extraordinary Ordinary, they'll pop up on Extraordinary Pictures YouTube channel. So you can check those out there too. They're about 3 minutes each. And, we had a lot of fun, filming those. And most of the cast and crew we had in the short films, they ended up coming on board for the feature. So it's very neat to be able to bring them on for the longer format.
Did you direct the film?
I did, yeah.
You're an auteur.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I did direct
I'm very
it.
impressed.
Oh, thank you. I did direct it, and then I also helped produce it. Again, I think I always wanted this film and to be my first feature film. I you know, went against everyone's advice. I would hear, don't make it your first feature because it's drama or because it's indie. But for me, I'm like, I love independent films. Even until this day, I will run to the theater to see an indie film versus, like, no offense to Marvel or DC fans, but like award seasons around this time, you see like great films coming out that are on the lower budget side. And for me, I find those inspiring because you hear even films like I'm thinking the film that came out this week was She Said. It's about the survivors that came forth about Harvey Weinstein. It was a book first, and I actually have a colleague of mine. She actually has a little supporting role in there named Sarah, and even through her posts, I'm learning even a popular book or such a heavy subject like that still had its own materials going on behind the scenes, financing or people coming and going from the project. So I find that inspiring because to me, every project, no matter what size, they all have their stuff going on behind the scenes. So I think it's always good to turn to indie films and indie books because I think for me that's what motivates me, keeps me excited. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like there is hope for everyone who has material they're trying to share. Yeah. Cool. Any questions?
Does it take place in Los Angeles, or where does it take place?
Yeah.
It does?
So the book takes place in New York.
New
And
York.
then for the film, we kept it in Los Angeles, Orange County. Actually filmed at my school over there at Cal State Fullerton.
Oh, cool.
So,
Nice place.
yeah,
Yeah.
very nice place. And we filmed, little fun fact, we didn't know this, but we filmed during their Cal State Fullerton's, their spring finals. So a lot of students and faculty thought we were filming a thesis. And we're just like, we're filming a thesis project. That's pretty neat. I should mention Cal State Fullerton. They also, they were amazing. They helped get me a few interns who later got bumped to either some type of producer credit or production assistant or costume assistant. They were interns, but they did so much work. I was like, can I just bump you? I don't want to give you intern role. I feel like you guys are doing more. And I ended up, I know, two of them ended up getting a associate producer, and then one got a co-producer credit because co-producer, her name's Melina. She was helping me with social media, and I mean, I loved it. I mean, a lot of them were excited to be on set, so I definitely recommend Cal State Fullerton if anyone's ever looking for interns or any help on projects. I think everyone that I've met, they've just been so like enthusiastic. They're very persistent and dedicated, so I haven't had any issues with them. And again, wonderful school. And the next, I can sign some copies, and I will say, definitely updates on the film and book. We have a few more events coming up. Definitely follow the Extra Ord Film. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can definitely, Google. You'll find the movie pop up. Most likely Amazon. Amazon's probably like our more popular streaming site. And Twitter, yeah. Twitter too. If it's actually, I don't know if Twitter's shutting down, so maybe won't be on Twitter much longer. And there's that going on right now. Yeah, there definitely is. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yay.
And there's food and snacks and water.
Cookies and water.
I didn't know if she was sitting. I was gonna she's coming in, the girl.
Did you know her or no?